let's discuss this. So WrestleMania is going to be over 2 days for the first time since. I think this is the first time ever, isn't it? I know that they pre-recorded WrestleMania 2 and that was over 3 different cities, and I think they did it on a Monday, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't over 2 days, was it? It was still on one. I think this might be the first time in history. They're using the opportunity, of course, for the coronavirus to say that WrestleMania is too big for just 1 day. So WrestleMania 36 this year will be over 2 days, mostly in a performance center, although they have said that they will be off-site in different areas, which I assume is what we're leading to with AJ Styles and The Undertaker, and there's also a strong suggestion they might be pre-taping quite a large amount of WrestleMania, so it wouldn't surprise me at all, especially as Randy Orton came out in his ring gear this week on Raw. Did anybody notice that? Randy Orton wearing his ring gear? Very strange. Let me talk to you about a 2-day WrestleMania. Is it necessary? Do you think that this comes from a good place? Because I'm not buying for a second that this has anything to do with, it's so that we can keep non-essential people away and we can keep less people in the building. I just think this is a money grab. I'm sorry, I know that sounds really cynical and really pessimistic, but WWE as a whole doesn't give a shit about anything but money. And for people who are going to argue the case and go, you're just being really pessimistic. Saudi Arabia, anybody? Saudi Arabia? Yeah, go fuck yourselves. It's all about money here. This is a business. Do they need 2 days? Is it, what's the point, for instance? Like, does anybody really think they need to have it over 2 days, especially when there's going to be no audience?
I think the reason that they have it for 2 days is because they're trying to get that same, build that NJPW did with Wrestle Kingdom and their 2-day thing. Now, mind you, they also had 40, 50,000 people or whatever amount in the Tokyo Dome. This is going to be with no fans whatsoever. So will it work? I mean, it'll all depend on the ratings of the network, I guess. I think this is just Vince trying to say, look, I'm not worried about this coronavirus crap. We're just abiding by the rules that we have to abide by. I am going to put on WrestleMania no matter what.
You think he's using the virus as an opportunity to basically test the waters and see whether a 2-day Mania will work?
I was always under the assumption that no way in hell would Vincent Kennedy McMahon ever cancel WrestleMania. He was going to put it on no matter what he had to do, even if he had to get a ring in his backyard. And go, hey, y'all, come on down to Stamford, because now he's Southern as opposed to, come on down to Stamford.
Yeah, I prefer the second one.
Yeah, I just got caught up in the moment. I didn't watch Wrestle Kingdom this year, which is a shame, but 2 days, a 2-day event, I don't think it's necessary. The only thing I could see is they're doing it because I doubt there's going to be a takeover. I sincerely doubt that there is going to be a takeover. So maybe he's just doing this to keep people entertained. Obviously it's not his top priority, but I would like to think that the company's top priority would be keeping us entertained and helping us forget the shitty situation that the world is in right now. That's me being an optimist. It doesn't happen very often. You should probably mark the date or something. But in all honesty, it's just Vince going, there's no way in hell I'm going to cancel this event. This is my event. It's the biggest thing of the year. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep it going, even if it's spread it over 2 days and keep all non-essential personnel away. Yeah, you lying sack of shit.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think WrestleMania should go ahead. More evidence for the suggestion that Aaron Nix is evolving very slowly into Jim Cornette. I am in full agreement with Jim Cornette that having things like Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre and trying to have these star-making matches like Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, it hurts the credibility of what you're trying to get the audience to perceive. So imagine you will, set the scene. It's the Performance Center. It's the main event of the second night. It's Brock Lesnar defending the WWE title against Drew McIntyre. This is Drew McIntyre's biggest moment. He Claymore kicks Brock Lesnar. It's a wonderful match. You'd expect it to be a good boss fight at least. Drew McIntyre captures the belt to minimal pyro and no audience reaction because there is no audience there. Now, people are going to enjoy that moment from the comfort of their living rooms, wherever they're watching, which hopefully will be at home. But I agree with Cornette when he says that people are not going to perceive him as a star if this happens in front of no audience. I believe that you need to just swallow your pride and walk away from this and wait until the coronavirus is done and then immediately say, right, okay, we as a company are worth billions of dollars. We are going to try and financially support or incentivize anybody who initially was meant to come to Tampa. We'll offer you free tickets for the next event. We'll even try and help subsidize the cost of travel, etc. And, you know, maybe put on hotels, whatever. I know that he's literally asking the most of WWE, and the idea of Vince McMahon doing that is very minimal. And because of, you know, the common sense and the rights that come with ticket purchases now, he can probably just turn around and say, well, fuck you, we've got terms and disclaimers and whatever. But I think having WrestleMania at all in front of an empty arena or any kind of empty audience is frankly embarrassing. I would tolerate maybe a shorter format, maybe just a 2-hour special. Maybe have a 2-hour network special where you say WrestleMania isn't on, but we're going to have, I don't know, wrestlers against Corona, whatever you want to call it. Have a 2-hour special and maybe have some of the less essential matches blown off. Maybe have as a main event Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the NXT title, perhaps, or something of that region. But I think by having it in front of no audience, I think you are robbing a lot of these talents of the organic and wonderful nature of the moment, and also you're taking it away from the fans. The whole idea of WrestleMania is that it's a spectacle. The whole idea of WrestleMania is that you are part of it, that you are immersed in it. It's everything that surrounds it, whether that be going to WrestleCon, whether that be watching NXT, going to the Hall of Fame ceremony, going to Madison Square Garden, seeing Ring of Honor and New Japan. You can't do any of that because the coronavirus says, So what's the fucking point of forcing it through? Simply because you can't be bothered to build storylines. Because from what I can tell, for the foreseeable future, we are not going to have the ability to go and watch wrestling in public in any kind of mass group or format. Never mind like thousands of people. You can't even have 50 people in a room. So fucking 5 people. So, you know, for them to say, yeah, well, fuck it, we're just going to have WrestleMania anyway, I think is incredibly short-sighted. I know why they're doing it. Because financially, it will be too much of a hit if they don't. And they know through good publications and good commercialism, good sponsorship, that they can still have a very successful buy rate or viewer rate for WrestleMania as a whole by putting on a network. Do you think it's any coincidence that they are giving away large amounts of WrestleMania content for free on network television? Yeah, like WrestleMania 32 advertisers being on air this Saturday or whatever it is on ESPN, which, by the way, is a fucking terrible WrestleMania. That's not a good example if you want to show off to people how great WrestleMania is. That was an awful WrestleMania, and I know you were there, Nick Payne. Fuck you. WrestleMania 32 was terrible. I think that what they're trying to do is just trying to literally, this is damage limitation for their finances. And Vince McMahon has sat there and thought, right, if we put on as much promotion as possible and have all these WrestleManias, people will still fucking tune in. We'll get record numbers on the network because more people are at home, and ultimately we won't lose that much because the advertising revenue will cover most of it. That's why they're still going ahead with these shows. That's why they're still doing these Raws and SmackDowns, even though they're incredibly lackluster in comparison to the normal show. And let's be honest, for a lot of people, the normal show was pretty shit anyway. So I imagine a lot of people are sitting at home thinking, God, this is garbage. But because people are trying to be optimistic and people are obviously suffering in their own right, they just, you know, they're kind of a little, I hate to attack the public, but they're a bit gullible, aren't they? Because they think, oh, how nice of WWE. You know, all the sports have been cancelled, but WWE's still entertaining us because they care about us. No, they don't. They care about a financial margin. Let's not act as if they're now holier than thou while people are dying. They don't give a fuck. Vince McMahon could have Rick Grimes knocking on his door, firing his fucking 367 Magnum through the fucking window, trying to gain entry into the fucking performance center, and he'd still be forcing Randy Orton and Edge to go 30 minutes. You know, with zombies climbing over the fucking ceiling. Because as far as he's concerned, it's a profit margin, it's a business, and ultimately, he probably thinks most of these wrestlers are his goddamn slaves. So, yeah, I am pessimistic. Yeah, I am a bit shitty and grouchy about the whole situation, but I think it's a terrible piece of business to have it in front of no fans whatsoever. And ultimately, fans might think that, oh, how cool is that? They're still going to give us WrestleMania even though we can't go. I think it's a slap in the face to every single fan who is willing to travel, who normally will remortgage their fucking house just so they can go and watch this bloody event every year. I think it's a real slap in the face to those people, and I think it's overall going to damage the premise of what WrestleMania means to an average audience member.